This concerns the newborn child of Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones, who has reportedly gone missing. The circumstances surrounding this incident are convoluted, dubious, and profoundly unsettling. This is not a conventional missing person case. Rather, it resembles a full-scale Hollywood scandal, and discussions are already circulating. If you have been following the ongoing turmoil involving Chrissy and Jim, you are likely aware that their relationship has been precarious for years, having been engaged for over a decade without any wedding plans in view. Chrissy has publicly implored for commitment, while Jim's propensity for such is notably lacking. Furthermore, the recent disappearance of their baby adds an element of suspicion to the situation. Reports emerged earlier this morning indicating that Chrissy and Jim's baby has completely vanished. Without a trace, however, the situation takes an unusual turn. No one appears to know how, when, or why this occurred. According to sources close to Chrissy, she was last seen with the baby in her Miami condominium just a few days ago. Everything seemed normal, no indications of struggle, no forced entry, nothing. Then, abruptly, the baby vanished. As anticipated, internet sleuths swiftly engaged, connecting various elements, revisiting past controversies, and attempting to ascertain the truth, as the timing of these events is exceedingly suspect. Initially, the paternity controversy arose, followed by Jim's peculiar behavior, and now the baby has vanished. There seems to be a discrepancy in the situation. Let us discuss Jim Jones briefly. His recent behavior has elicited skepticism, while Chrissy has been anxiously contacting law enforcement, making statements, and exhibiting emotional distress. Jim has remained composed. Indeed, you heard correctly. Rather than publicly addressing the disappearance of his child, Jim was observed socializing with friends, joking, and appearing entirely unfazed. To exacerbate the situation, he shared a cryptic message on Instagram that bewildered many. He stated, "Sometimes you got to let go to move forward." This raises the question, what is he suggesting letting go of? If he is implying the need to relinquish his own child, we face a grave issue, and the internet promptly criticized him. One user said that Jim Jones is too composed for an individual whose child has just gone missing. Something seems amiss. Another individual said that Chrissy seems profoundly distressed while Jim appears to be nonchalant. It is evident that he is concealing something. Although I always refrain from making hasty judgments, this whole scenario appears rather dubious, especially considering the prior rumors circulating in the community. Whispering about whether Jim was even the father of this kid to begin with. Yeah, you heard it correctly. A few months ago, reports began emerging that Jim had surreptitiously sought a paternity test behind Chrissy's back. Some individuals said he was telling his close pals that he had concerns, while others suggested he was attempting to discreetly conduct a DNA test prior to signing the birth certificate. Jim abruptly began to distance himself following the baby's birth. This appears to be more than mere coincidence. Now, let us examine the dubious circumstances surrounding the baby's disappearance. According to a close associate of Chrissy, she was the last individual seen with the infant. However, when others arrived to check on the baby, it was inexplicably missing. There was no evidence of forced entry, no security footage of a break-in, and no witnesses to any suspicious activity. It is as if the baby simply vanished without a trace. The pressing question remains, who would desire the removal of this child? Before assigning blame, we must consider the one individual who has remained entirely silent throughout this ordeal, Jim Jones. Not only has Jim refused to talk to the media, but even Chrissy herself has been having a hard time getting in touch with him, and here is where things take a totally crazy turn, because word on the street is that this could not be a normal missing child case, but a full-blown abduction. Yep, kidnapping. An anonymous source who claims to be very close to Chrissy's inner circle says that she and Jim had been receiving threats for weeks before this baby disappeared. Now hold on, threats, this changes everything, because if Chrissy and Jim were already being harassed, then we need to ask who had it out for them and why. And let's not forget, Chrissy has been in some deep drama over the years. She's rubbed people the wrong way in the industry, has feuded with ex-friends, and let's not even get into the money problems she and Jim have had over the years. Could this kidnapping be a warning, a message, or something even more sinister? Because now people are beginning to connect the connections and the Evidence is pointing in a very disturbing direction. First off, let's talk about how conveniently quiet Jim has been this whole time. 1 minute he's out here laughing with his friends, the next minute he's completely off the grid. Even the paparazzi, who are usually all up in his business, can't seem to track him down, which means we now have two missing people, Jim and the baby. Y'all, what if Jim actually knows where the baby is now? Look, I'm not saying he did it, but if he's involved, that could explain why he's been so weird about the whole situation. And let's not forget, Jim has been openly questioning the baby's paternity. What if he found out something that made him want to handle this situation himself? Now I know what you're thinking, why wouldn't Chrissy be involved in all this? Well, that's the craziest part. Chrissy has been completely blindsided by everything. She's been crying, calling her friends for help, and even had to be escorted out of the police station after she showed up demanding answers. This woman is broken, so if this was some type of inside job, Chrissy definitely wasn't on it, and that just makes things even more heartbreaking. Now, we already know the police have officially launched an investigation, but here's where things get even crazier. New reports are saying that an unidentified black SUV was spotted near Chrissy's condo just hours before the baby was discovered missing. And guess what? Jim owns a black SUV, so now we have to ask, was this baby taken by someone Jim knows? Because the way everything is unfolding, it's looking like this might not just be a simple missing child case. This could be something much bigger. And y'all, the next set of details that just leaked, oh, it's about to blow this case wide open, because now the police are considering an even darker possibility. Stay tuned, because we're delving deep into the new evidence, the rising suspicions about Jim Jones, and the unsettling links that recently were discovered. Now hang on, because things are getting even. Now, in this missing infant case, the police have been working nonstop, and now fresh information has come that is making many really doubt if this is actually an abduction or whether something considerably worse, sinister, as at play. First things first, let's talk about this black SUV. As I mentioned earlier, a black SUV was spotted near Chrissy's condo just hours before the baby was reported missing. And guess what? Jim Jones owns a black SUV now. I'm not saying that means Jim was the one driving it, but let's be real, this man has been acting weird. The police immediately started investigating, pulling security footage, and trying to track the vehicle's MV meant. But here's where it gets even sketchier. Somehow the footage from Chrissy's condo security cameras is missing. Yep, you heard that right. The one thing that could have given us clear answers gone, erased, vanished into thin air. And y'all already know what that means. Somebody did this on purpose, because let's be honest, security footage doesn't just disappear unless someone made it disappear, and the real question is, who has the power to do that? Jim, a hired professional, someone else connected to this whole situation? At this point, it's clear whoever took this baby knew what they were doing, and now the police are starting to put the pieces together, and what they just found has people absolutely losing their minds. Now, before we get into the latest bombshells, let's talk about Chrissy's reaction to all this, because if y'all thought she was broken before, just wait until you hear what happened next. Chrissy has been desperate for answers, practically begging the police to do more, and when she heard about the SUV sighting and the missing footage, she lost it. According to insiders, Chrissy collapsed on the floor at the police station, sobbing uncontrollably. She kept saying, I know who did this, I know who did this. And then she dropped a bomb. Chrissy reportedly told police that she had a bad feeling about Jim for weeks before all this went down. She claimed that he had been acting different, avoiding her, making excuses, and even disappearing for long periods without telling her where he was going. Now, y'all, tell me, what kind of father does that to his newborn child? And get this, Chrissy also revealed that she and Jim had a massive fight just days before the baby went missing. According to Chrissy, Jim had accused her of lying about something and was threatening to leave her for good. But here's where things take a truly disturbing turn, because right after that, Chrissy started noticing weird things happening. She swore that somebody had been watching her. At first, she thought she was tripping, but then she started hearing noises at night. Then she saw a strange man standing outside her building late at night, just staring. And the scariest part, when she went to check the security cameras to see who it was, the footage was gone, just like what happened on the night the baby disappeared. Y'all, what in the world is going on here? Because now it's looking like this whole thing was planned way in advance, and that means somebody, maybe even Jim, had been plotting something for weeks now. Here's where the case takes a shocking new twist, because just when the police were getting closer to figuring out what happened, another major development hit, and this one, it's straight out of a Hollywood movie. A second black SUV was just discovered abandoned on the side of the road, and inside, a piece of fabric that matches something Chrissy had in the baby's nursery now hold up because this is huge. This means that whoever took the baby was moving them around in a second vehicle to throw people off, and the fact that this vehicle was abandoned so suddenly it's almost like whoever was driving it had to get rid of it fast. So now the police are checking surveillance footage from nearby streets, tracking license plates, and trying to figure out exactly where this second vehicle came from. But here's where things get even more insane, because after hearing about this abandoned SUV, a mysterious witness just came forward with new information, and what this person is claiming, it changes everything. This witness says they saw a man carrying a bundle wrapped in a blanket rushing into a completely different car just hours after the baby was taken. They described the man as tall, wearing all black, and looking nervous. And when the police showed them a lineup of potential suspects, guess who picture they hesitated on? Jim Jones. Now hold on, this is getting too crazy, because this witness just said they saw a man that looked a lot like Jim carrying something that could have been the baby getting into another vehicle, and that means, was Jim really the one behind this? Because let's be honest, everything is pointing to him right now, and just when y'all thought it couldn't get any wilder, guess what? Jim Jones has gone missing. Yep, you heard that right. Nobody knows where he is. He's not answering his phone. His team has gone silent. This man has completely disappeared off the face of the earth, and y'all already know what that means. Guilty people run, because let's be real, if your baby is missing, you should be out here doing everything to find them. But Jim, he dipped, and now people are starting to wonder, did Jim Jones take the baby himself, or, and this is where things get even more terrifying, did somebody take Jim too? Because now there's a new theory floating around that Jim might not actually be responsible, but instead he might have been set up. Y'all, what if Jim got caught up in something way bigger than just a missing baby? Because let's not forget, Jim Jones has been linked to some very powerful people, and not all of them have good intentions. So now we have two major possibilities. Option 1, Jim was involved with the baby's abduction, and now he's on a run since he knows the truth is going to come out. Choice 2, Jim wasn't the mastermind, but he got himself into something shady, and now both he and the baby are in danger. Either way, this is getting way too deep, and y'all, the most shocking development is still coming, because now somebody is making anonymous phone calls to the police, and these calls, they're claiming to know exactly what happened to the baby. In part 3, we're diving into these mysterious call, the new twist that has everyone rethinking what really happened, and the terrifying truth about who might actually be behind this entire situation. As the chaos around Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones' missing baby intensifies, the pressure is growing from every aspect. Social media is in a frenzy, the streets are humming with whispers, and now even law enforcement is feeling the pressure. But the real issue is who's really behind this, and is this about the baby, or is there a greater game at play? At this point, Jim is desperate. Sources close to him claim he hasn't slept in days. He's been making non-stop calls, tugging every rope he can, and even reaching out to individuals from his past who he vowed he'd never deal with again. If you know Jim's past, as the commotion over Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones' missing baby develops, the pressure is growing from every aspect. Social media is in a frenzy, the streets are humming with the rumors, and now even law enforcement is feeling the heat. But the real question is who's really behind this, and is this about the baby, or is there a greater game at play? At this time, Jim is desperate. Sources close to him say he hasn't slept in days. He's been making non-stop calls, pulling every string he can. Then you already know this man got some serious connections, but even with all that power and influence, he's coming up empty-handed, and that's when the feds step in. Yeah, you heard that right, federal agents, because apparently this case has gotten so wild that local authorities can't handle it alone. Word on the street is this isn't just a simple kidnapping case. There might be some high-level criminals involved, and when the feds come knocking, you already know it's deeper than it looks. Now let's talk about Chrissy. She's been completely off the grid since this news broke. No interviews, no social media posts, nothing. People are starting to ask, what does she know that we don't? Some insiders claim she's been in contact with a mystery person who's been feeding her information about where the baby might be. But here's where things get even crazier. Some say this wasn't a kidnapping at all. They claim Chrissy knows exactly where the baby is, and this whole thing is just a cover-up for something much bigger. But why would she do that? And more importantly, what's she hiding? Meanwhile, Jim is spiraling. He's showing up at police stations demanding answers. He's even hired private investigators to dig deeper, and these PS, they just uncovered something insane. There's footage allegedly from a security camera near Chrissy's house that shows a black SUV pulling up minutes before the baby disappeared. But here's the kicker: the person stepping out of that SUV, they look awfully familiar. People are saying it's someone close to the family, someone who's had beef with Jim for years. Could it be an ex, a former business partner, a rival from the industry? Whoever it is, their involvement is too suspicious to ignore, and just when we thought things couldn't get Messier, boom, fresh reports DRO saying a ransom letter has surfaced. That's right, someone is demanding money in exchange for the baby's safe return, and y'all won't believe how much they're asking for $5 million. Now here's the thing: Jim has money, but he ain't sitting on that kind of cash liquid, and some sources claim that he's been trying to get the money together fast. But hold up, why would someone kidnap a celebrity's baby and think they can just demand money like this unless this was personal? See, this ain't some random crime. This feels like a setup. Somebody planned this, somebody knew what they were doing, and now Jim is forced to make the biggest decision of his life. Does he pay up and get his child back, or does he call their bluff and let the authorities handle it? But let's be real, if it were your child, could you really take that risk? Now, while Jim is dealing with all this, the internet detectives are working overtime. Some people believe this is all staged, that Jim and Chrissy are playing the media to stay relevant. Others say this is deeper than Hollywood, that there's some big secret involved that they don't want exposed. And then there's the most chilling theory of all: what if the baby was never really in? What if this was all part of a bigger scheme? Because let's not forget, Chrissy has been trying to get Jim to settle down for years. What if this is her final move? What if she's forcing Jim's hand to commit to be the man she's been begging him to be? Sounds crazy maybe, but in Hollywood nothing is off the table, and that's why we need to remain hooked in, because no matter which way this goes, one thing is obvious: this is far from over, and all this story just keeps getting wilder. And you already know we're going to stay on top of it. What do you all think really occurred? Is Jim genuinely out there trying to rescue his kid, or is there more to the tale? And do y'all think the cops will capture his ex before it's too late? Post your opinions in the comments. We need to know what y'all think, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and switch on notifications so you never miss an update, because believe me, this case is far from finished. Remain tuned in, and we'll catch you all in the next one.